are you?
Hi, doing good. So, as of recently as last fall, the NYPD would go to conferences in Israel with the Israeli National Police. This past January, Speaker Julie Menon also mentioned that she would not stop plans if the council had plans to take these trips to Israel. Based on the recent comments that you have made against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, does the NYPD or the City Council have current plans to visit Israel this fall? And if so, do you think that your comments might cause a backlash on their reception?
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to off topics. And we'll start with Liz Kim from Gothamist. Just give a minute for our speakers.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. I want to ask you about something AOC said over the weekend that you probably heard in an interview where she quoted Councilmember Chi Ose, who once said on Twitter or X, woke one was crazy. And she was talking about it in response to questions about whether the left has some sort of during that time, whether how she responds to some unpopular or controversial proposals on the left, like defund the police. And I wonder what you make of that. What do you make of that statement? Because you yourself have walked back defund the police. Do you think woke one was crazy?
Look, I think that each person has a responsibility to tell New Yorkers, to tell Americans when they're running for office what they believe. And sometimes what you believe can change. It can develop. It can grow. And I know that there are some for whom they still believe in that. I've made very clear that I do not believe in defunding the police, that I will not be defunding the police. And that to me, delivering critical public safety also looks like working with our police department alongside many other partners, and we've seen over the first 7 months of this administration what that can look like when we're talking about the fewest murders on record in New York City, the fewest shooting incidents on record in New York City, and that to me is how we measure a lot of our public safety.
Thank you. We're going to go to Fariha from City and State.
Morning, Mr. Mayor.
Morning, how are you?
Hi, doing good. So, as of recently as last fall, the NYPD would go to conferences in Israel with the Israeli National Police. This past January, Speaker Julie Menon also mentioned that she would not stop plans if the council had plans to take these trips to Israel. Based on the recent comments that you have made against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, does the NYPD or the City Council have current plans to visit Israel this fall? And if so, do you think that your comments might cause a backlash on their reception?
I don't know what the City Council's plans are. They're an independent body, and I'll leave it to the Speaker to answer that question. I can follow up with the NYPD to find about those plans. I'll tell you, most of my focus today is Tremont Avenue Busway, but I will follow up on that, and we'll let you know.
Thanks. We'll go to Heather from News 12.
Hi, Mayor. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good, thank you. So a group of organizations are conducting sit-ins at courthouses across the city to review arraignments and just watch in on them. They're saying under your administration, arrests for low-level arrests have remained high or even increased. They also cited data from the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice that the number of arrests from January to June of this year exceeded 50%. They're kind of calling on you to address this and stand up to your campaign promises of addressing low-level arrests. I just wanted your response on this. They're supposed to be releasing their findings tomorrow.
Well, I look forward to the release of their findings, and I think that if I'm understanding your question correctly, if they're engaging in court watch and they're going to observe these kinds of proceedings, that's an important part of our criminal legal system. And I've made very clear that I don't believe New Yorkers should have to choose between safety and justice. We have to be able to deliver both of these things. And I was sharing earlier about some of the achievements that our administration is proud of when it comes to the fewest murders on record and comes to the fewest shooting incidents on record. And also, we know that every single day is an opportunity to do better. So I look forward to the findings, and we'll review those. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Okay, we've got time for two more. We'll go to Chris from Politico, and then we'll go to Catherine.
Chris, did you recently get married?
No.
Oh.
I know you did.
Well, yeah, I mean, somewhat. I just saw your wedding ring, and I've never seen it before.
Yep. No, it's been like a decade.
Oh.
Are you always trying to throw me off before I ask you questions?
No,
I'm starting to sense a trend here.
I just wanted to wish you congratulations.
Anyways, wanted to ask, want to ask, want to ask you
Just
about
observing things we're all thinking.
wanted to ask you two very different things, having nothing to do with what you just talked about. The Elizabeth Street Garden. Your administration is going to walk away from the plan to build housing in the garden. How do you explain doing this, given you promised last year that you would move forward with that plan? And then on a totally different topic, the City Council announced today that it's launching an investigation into prediction markets. I'm curious where you stand on the idea of regulating prediction markets. Do you think there needs to be more regulation on that in order to protect from deceptive marketing practices? And who do you think should ultimately regulate prediction markets, the state or the federal government?
I think to be direct, yes. I think there needs to be more regulation. I think it's an open conversation as to what each level of government should do. However, I don't think that we have seen the limits of that regulation as yet. And I appreciate especially the Attorney General for having taken action on this. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. And on your first question, it was in the campaign itself, before the general election, that I shared with New Yorkers that the actions of former First Deputy Mayor Randy Mastro made it nearly impossible for any future administration to be able to fulfill a vision of building housing on the Elizabeth Street Garden site. So while we are working to resolve the lawsuit with the developers who are set to build upon that site, we continue to believe in the importance of building more affordable housing, and that is why we are going to be building more than 180 homes at 22 Suffolk Street and more at 100 Gold as well.
Thank you.
And that's what I said over the course, in the final, I think it was a week before the general election, that those actions made it nearly impossible for us to move forward.
Thank you, Chris. Last question will be Catherine from Chris.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How's it going?
Going well.
On the pied-à-terre lawsuit,
Yes.
The city has continued to implement the tax while
Yes.
it appeals the decision from Monday. But if the court ultimately rules in favor of the plaintiffs in that case, does that mean all of this implementation work is for nothing? Like, is the city doing anything to sort of prepare for that fact if, they have to start from scratch? And also on Elizabeth Street Garden, did you ask the legislature after coming into office if they would at all be willing to explore lifting that designation?
I think we've been clear that the actions of the prior administration made it nearly impossible to proceed on that vision and proceed on it in a way that would be realistic. And when it comes to your first question, we continue to be confident not only in the importance of a tax on secondary homes worth more than $5 million, in the necessity of the $500 million it would raise towards making sure that our streets are safer, making sure that our schools are stronger, that our city is more affordable, and also our law department has informed Mr. Mastro that it will appear before the Appellate Division, Second Department, on Thursday morning to address the stay and any other related matters.
All right. Thank you, everyone.